And we're live. So what's it? Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining. It's another episode of Serious Banter. I'm Bola Lawal, your co-host as usual, and Justin is here as well. Hi, Justin.
Hey people, welcome to Serious Banter, US Election Edition.
Keep quiet. Let me introduce my people myself. So Justin's a troll. He already told me I'm just going to keep quiet today. Yeah, this is your diaspora people.
Keep quiet. Let me introduce my people myself.
Okay. There's a playback from somewhere. I don't know.
Sorry, that was me. I've muted it.
All right, no problem. So this should be good. Our show, let me just give you a quick rundown. So it's not a scripted show. It's not interview. We don't. Okay, so you come in. We are just having a conversation. We are gisting. We're talking about stuff. We're laughing about it. We're being serious at the same time. We're having a good conversation. We're also having a honest, and we will try as much as possible not to be unbiased. But it's fair to say that everybody here wants the same outcome.
No, but it's like very objective, unbiased perspective.
Okay, very good, Kingsley. Very good, very good. I'm glad to hear that. Justin, you know what the topic's about. We want to talk about previewing the debate, looking at the expectation, setting the expectation for both. I'm looking at reading the comments. The comments are already coming in. Setting the expectation for both candidates, right? And in the lens of the diaspora, lens of Africa, what US means for all of this. And so we are going to look at that perspective. We're going to be talking about a lot of issues, study immigration, the economy, businesses, Black professionals, how we thrive here. And I'd like for you guys to also share some of your stories. I might even ask you what the American dream looks like in 2020. So Justin, before we get going, can you set your expectations for the show? What are you expecting today? I don't want to hear. I'm just going to listen now. I want to hear real expectation.
You already labeled me a troll, so can you let me troll? Let me live up to the expectation. Don't mind, but that's how he trolls. All right, so it was inevitable that we were going to do a topic on the U.S. elections, right? Given the kind of things that we talk about on the show. Bola being a U.S. Nigerian, me being a Nigerian, and all of us Nigerians who are patriotic Americans at heart. I think a lot of Nigerians are more vested in these elections. Don't ask me why. I mean, different people have their different reasons. And I'm just a curious observer. I'm curious because clearly it goes without saying what happens in the US affects the world, right? And if anybody was in any doubt, the past few years have cleared those doubts. But it's funny how when you look at where the dice have fallen, you find people on both sides, and everybody has their reasons for supporting the support. I might not agree with what some friends say about these elections. So going into this conversation, it's really instructive for me to hear what people have to say, people, diaspora people, Nigerians in Nigeria, those who might call in. And as we go along, I'll also share my thoughts, I guess. But I think this is a topic that has everybody's attention. I say the whole world to be awake tonight, waiting for that debate to happen. Whether the debate is going to swing voters is, I don't know, the jury is out there. So that's what I think. How's that for trolling, Bola? You owe me an apology, right?
You tried. But before we go ahead, do we need to do a drug test for everyone? Oh, Abby, this is how we get down here. Don't worry. I'm just saying. I mean, okay. So before we go ahead, if you guys are on Twitter, if you don't mind, can I tagged everyone on the live feed. You should have gotten a notification. If you don't mind, you can retreat. So, but to get started, I know Kings, because you have to live in an hour, and I know your body no set to sing. So I want you to start, but I want us to get.
Wow.
I want
No,
everyone.
ladies first, please.
Okay, you said you want ladies friend. Okay, but this is how we're going to start. I want all of you on now to tell us in 3 minutes, if you can, if it's possible, your American story. 3 minutes. If you can, okay, why did you come here? How long have you been here? What are you trying to achieve in this country, or what is your outlook, or whatever it is? If you have any agenda you want to agenda, anything. 3 minutes. Let's get going. Nick, I know this is cake for you. I mean, as a operative, and also it'd be good
Why
if,
is
if you,
this cake for me?
as an operative,
No,
this is very
please
easy.
let somebody else go. It's not cake.
I mean,
Please.
I mean, I mean, it
Thank
looks
you.
like.
The two ladies is between us. Okay, no problem. Hi, everyone. My name's Abby Katoon. 3 minutes. Go. So I was born and raised in the United States. My parents came to the U.S. to go to school. And so I, went to school with my parents and, I've been raised here. I didn't actually travel to Nigeria for the first time until I was in college. And I had a sister there, still have a sister who calls their home. And so my American story has been the Nigerian American story. And that's why I'm very active in the Nigerian American Multicultural Council, NAMC, here in Houston. That organization was founded because many Nigerians came to the U.S. Thinking that they would go to school and take their knowledge back to Nigeria, yet so many of them are still here. And those people have kids like me that are American, and they want to make sure that those kids are still Nigerian, keep some of that culture. But then since we're here, why don't we thrive here? Why don't we get engaged? Why don't we get, start building things? And so I'm all about that. NAMC's all about that. And so for me, the American dream is to be happy and to pay $750 in taxes.
See, yeah, already in spirit.
And to be a billionaire, why not? And so, I think that what the president does, although it's not on the local level, and local politics actually matters a lot more than national politics, but the past 4 years and a little bit beyond that has been a little bit of a nightmare if you're from Africa. I hate being from a shithole country. I'd like to change the narrative on that. And so I think that a new president, in my own opinion, being unbiased, I think that's what we're supposed to be. A new president.
You could be however you want to be, honestly.
I'm refraining from wearing my Biden hat, but I have one. But I think a new president would usher in a time where we're more respected as a continent. And so therefore the US will be more respected because less people will hate us around the world. So I'd love that to happen. And like I said, it'd be my American dream would be for us to be able to do what we like to do, for us to take advantage of the opportunity that this country affords, and also to be able to help the fatherland, the motherland at the same time.
Thank you. Full disclosure, I did try to reach out to some MAGA. I don't know. Nika calls them something. I can't remember what she calls them. but I tried to reach out to some people, and also we're trying to be very careful. It's full disclosure. Most of the ones I know are trolls, and we want people that can have conversations here, but we don't want trolls. So if you're still here and hear us talk about the show, and you feel you should be here, DM me. We'll bring you on. But yeah. So who wants to go next? Okay, Kings is just go. So since Nick I see warming up.
All right. Thanks very much.
No, that's. I mean, yeah.
All right. I'll just go for it. So, unlike Abby, I wasn't born in the United States. I was born and raised in Nigeria, Lagos specifically, and I moved here to go to college, university, right? And I studied and got a job, built a family. That's essentially my immigrant story. It is not different from the immigrant story of many people who have come here from all over the world. In terms of the American dream, that has changed for so many people. You know, for some people, it's just to have that house with a white picket fence and a wife and too many have kids and a dog. For me, it's just about the boundless expansion of opportunity. The idea that no matter what is out there, the idea that I'm able to accomplish anything I want, unblocked and unfettered by anyone, as long as I am willing to work for it. That's the American dream. It allows me to be as ambitious or as lethargic as I want, right? You know, people talk about freedom. That's what it is. So if I want, well, I can't be president, but that's one thing that we can get, even though I'm a citizen now, right? Right. But the idea, right, is to have that boundless opportunity. That for me is the American dream. Now, and that is what informs my strong opposition and unbiased, or I should say biased opposition to the current American president. Those of you who know me, Bola, you know me very well. Abby knows me as well. I've always had my D versus R debates, right, with people. And with most Republicans, I've been able to agree to disagree, you know,
yeah,
policy and hold. But with the current president, it's not so. How do I disagree with somebody who says, or agree to disagree with someone who doesn't see me on an equal footing as a human being? Or as someone who says people shouldn't be here? You know, the shithole comment. A lot of people.
It's code.
Well, it's not even good. A lot of people read that comment the wrong way. A lot of people were saying, well, he's not wrong now. Nigeria is a shithole. That's not what he said.
It's talking about the people.
Right? Yeah, Nigeria, if you want to say, yeah, it can be a shithole. That no one's debating that. At least I'm not debating that. But it's the people. He's saying people from here shouldn't come here. Instead, let's have people from here come over here. Right? That to me is
Sweden, right? Sweden and Switzerland.
All parts of Scandinavia. And you know, here's the thing, right? I'm an immigrant, right? I've been told so many times, go back to where you came from, right? By different people all through my American journey here.
I feel like everybody has to have heard that at least once. I almost got fired because of that.
Everyone gets that. But here's what radicalizes me. Last year, I was blessed with my first child, a son. He's born here, right? I want an America where no one gets to tell him, go back to where you came from. Because he's from here. Yes, or by all means, he's of Nigerian origin and, you know, he eats amala and all that good stuff. Wonderful. But he's from here. This is his land as much as anyone else's. As much as those who came on the Mayflower.
Do you understand that there are people in Nigeria that don't believe that? That I always have to block on. I have to block them on Twitter.
Right? Everyone is welcome to their belief, right? Everybody.
I think there's a different grade of citizenship. Like the,
no. So
here's
the thing, right? When I took my citizenship oath, one of the things that the official said is that the moment I took my oath, he said,
do you denounce?
No, I'm not even talking about the oath itself. The man said, upon taking this oath, you are entitled to every right and privilege as those who came here on the Mayflower, as those who were born here, as those who have lived in this country for 99 years. Now, constitutionally, there is one right that I'm not entitled to.
You can't.
But the point is the same. Now, my son, he's entitled to it all, every last one. And there is a group of people in this country who believe he shouldn't be. And I'm saying that let's get those guys out of here.
All right. Well, just pack that. Nick, now you can't run. No, it's your turn now.
I was hoping that, Kingsley would continue telling us the story. It was getting very interesting. Um, okay, so the question is again, what is my story here in
So,
the
what's your
US, my
story?
American
Just
story?
your first 3 minutes. Talk to us about and whatever you want to open with. That's fine with us.
Okay, sure. So I was born in Nigeria and I moved, well, I didn't move. My mom brought me to Italy to join my father in the 80s to Italy, where we lived for quite a long time until my mom decided that I should go and learn some English. And she was selling, shoes and bag, Italian shoes and bag to my aunt who was here in the US. So one summer she was like, hey, why don't you go check it out? So I came and I was like, okay, cool. High school. Oh, okay. And then my mom decided, okay, well, I want to come to the US. And she was a nurse in Italy and decided, I'm going to pack everything and come out here. So she stayed there for, she moved to the US, joined me and my siblings. And we struggled quite a bit because of the language, because I was still, trying to get into my English. And we were still getting acclimatized to the area. So our first apartment, I will never forget, was on Bissonnette. And my
Oh,
first job was at a restaurant chopping vegetables at a restaurant called Kenny's. And
oh,
then
really?
I evolved from chopping the vegetables to, yeah, I evolved from that to looking at the
Okay,
menus and
Justin, I'll
redoing the
provide all
menus.
the
And I was like,
context you
hey, your
need. Just let
flyer
her
sucks.
finish.
Let's give you cards. And then from that hustle, I decided to continue my schooling. I went to U of H, studied languages and political science, and couldn't find a job in what I wanted. And the only thing that would satisfy my mother was you need to get into the medical field. You either get into nursing school or this is not happening for you. And I refused. So I used my skills and what I had, and I decided to enroll in a Spanish medical course, and did that, and started working as a Spanish interpreter. Saw a lot of injustices of how like the medical system treats immigrants, and was like, wow, this is really fucked up. Can we use any word in this, or are we censored?
We are not censored, but it is what it is. Serious banter, however you
Okay,
like it.
okay. So anyway, I saw how rigged the system was, and I was really upset and decided, okay, well, how can I get involved into this? And I looked at policy and how that correlates to how legislation is made. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I need to get involved in campaigns. So my first campaign was with Mayor Turner. It was an issue-based campaign, whether the firefighters should get parity or not.
Can you
Some
add some
stuff.
context so
Anyway,
because we have international audience? So Mayor Turner is the mayor of Houston, fourth largest city
audience.
in
So
the
that's
U.S.
the
So
mayor of Houston, fourth largest city in the U.S. Texas. Big up A-Leaf. Anyways, yes. So I got involved in that first campaign and then realized that, hey, there's actually a good opportunity to get involved in politics because I don't see a lot of people like me here. Started going to city council meetings. And all in the meantime, I was running a chamber of commerce here in Houston to try to foster some kind of interest into Africa. And it worked because then all of a sudden, everybody became interested in having some kind of Africa US trade relationship, at least here in Houston. There was a little bit more attention. So while all of that was going on, I was kind of pulling the ranks into the campaign world. And from that, I have worked other campaigns that led me to work, lastly, a Bloomberg campaign. And I just realized that our people need to be engaged into what is going on because just like Kingsley Kingsley said, his son right now has a right, every right, to do anything and everything possible. He could be president tomorrow. Why? Because he was born here. Why? Because he's afforded those rights. And people have fought for those rights. And we, as people who live here, need to be attuned to what is going on. Not just presidential elections. Yes, that's what we're talking about now. But things like school board, what goes into your kids' books, what rules require, like all of these things, taxes that you pay and complain about, how the water is run, like all of these things are part of politics. And if we're not involved, they're going to continue making decisions for us without us. So I guess that doesn't answer my American dream question, but I want to say that throughout my life here, I have realized that this is the country that I want to continue with because of the opportunities that it has afforded me. But at the same time, that opportunity has to be protected. And that's why we have to vote in this election. So anyway, I'll let the next topic start.
All right. Thank you very much. Justin, do you have anything to add before we move ahead? Go ahead. All right, good.
Yeah, I have to say, it looks like you have kind of bridled Justin, and it's not fair. I want to see Justin go all out.
Kingsley, just wait. just wait. This one, just you.
Don't worry, Kingsley. I have quite a bit of stuff to say.
Right.
I'm gonna let you guys get into it. I'll meet you in the middle.
Justin, you don't know poker face when you see one. This one. Please, let's. So where I want us to go now is within the last 4 years, a lot has happened. Or almost 4 years now, a lot has happened. Can you frame that for us? Just there's some people like, oh, why are you people disturbing this Trump? Say, why do you want to remove him? In our own opinion, he's doing well. Though. There are a lot of people in Nigeria and Africa that see him as a messiah. Some people think that everything is going well with America while we're complaining. We are just a bunch of crybabies. So, in a few words, let's try and get it rapid so we can get everybody to get involved and chime in. Frame the last 3.5, almost 4 years for us. What has gone right? If you can pick anything that's gone right, and what are things that have not gone so well, in your own opinion? And from the conversation tonight, what are you looking to hear from whoever it is that you're supporting? Who wants to start? Maybe Abby wants to start, or Kingsley?
By conversation, are you referring to the debate?
Yes, the debate tonight.
Okay.
Yes. So in the last 4 years, we're going to frame it, or so kind of give us the both sides of the good, the bad, and what your expectations are.
Well, I'll jump in, and I'll just throw out a couple, and then hopefully Kingsley and Nneka can add others, because it's really hard for me to come up with things that have gone good. If I take us back 4 years, and I know that Trump supporters will hate me for this, but we had a good economy. We built ourselves back from 2008 and the way that our economy was then. I saw an article the other day that I shared widely that talked about, all kinds of things, GDP, et cetera, employment, et cetera, under the Obama administration. And that's where Trump picked this up. And so he gets to laud that the economy was the best ever because he picked up a good economy. He picked up good employment numbers, et cetera. And so when I look at the last 4 years, the only good thing that I have, and maybe you guys will remind me of other good things, is that my tax bill last year was better than the year before. And so that's the positive that I give to President.
What do some people say that's big enough? At the end of the day, Kingsley, don't do it. Kingsley, you're not allowed to talk to. It's your time.
No, it's not good enough, actually. So I'm never gonna tell someone not to give me more money. But I believe in social programs. That's why I'm a Democrat. I'm not just a Democrat because Obama was one. So I believe that we should all pay our fair share of taxes, and those taxes should be used for the betterment of our society and of our, established country. And so I'm happy to have more money, but I'm not happy with what he's done with the country and the state of things.
Okay, Abby, let me push back a little bit. Can you dive a little bit of your view on social programs? Because some people just think that it's taking money and giving it away, and it's not incentivizing people to try to, improve themselves and better and betterment of themselves, right? Why would I work when there's the checks that come in from the government every month? Why should I do any type of work or get involved in employment? So, but that's not my view in terms of social programs. I have my own way of how I feel social programs to work. But there's also a legit argument when people make that, oh, you're just giving money away for people that are not incentivized to work, right? So,
Yeah.
what are your views on social programs, and why does it make sense that we have to pay as much as we pay in taxes to the government so they can do certain programs, and what's the incentive for people not to rely on that? So what are your thoughts?
Well, so my immigrant story, I think my parents came and they went to school and they worked. But I'm not going to say that it was necessarily easy the entire time. So when people say that they don't like welfare, etc., I think that's spoken like a person that's never had to benefit from it. Like there was WIC for mothers. That you just don't know where life is going to take you. And I don't think that my parents are lazy in the least, but they have had to use the programs at some point in our lives. And that's what has enabled me to be who I am right now. And so I believe that, let's just think of some things that have happened in the last few years. FEMA, we pay our taxes to the government. A national emergency happens in a region, and our federal government gives money to that area so people can stand back up. Where else would that money come from if it didn't come from the federal government? Because when there's a disaster, the local government doesn't have the resources. That's one example. And the other thing I'll say on that is, if you don't like social programming, then you shouldn't really, in my opinion, don't come for me, you shouldn't really complain about Nigeria, because Nigeria, in many respects, is what you get when you don't have people paying taxes into the system. There are so many things that when you look around that could be fixed if we were applying money there, like going down the road to a rich person's home. It's bumpy. Like you paid so much money for your home, yet the road can't be clear and can't be smooth to get to your house. And even you as a rich person, you can try, but there's only so much you can do as one person. You need the government to stand
Justin, you better not say anything. When it's Justin, you're mute. Yeah,
I say just cuckoo wear your MAGA hat. Let's know that you have joined the MAGA trolls today.
It's okay, but see, the reason why I said Justin should anything is the
I want to understand why though.
Because Justin is very.
If he's wearing his hat, why is it that we're talking?
Neka, say again.
Why is it that you're wearing a MAGA hat? Like, what's up with?
I don't have a MAGA hat. Don't listen to Justin. It's just public slander. Justin just wants to slander my reputation in the league of important people.
Okay. So let me let a little bit of what's on my mind out. Yeah. All of you live in America. I'm looking at the polls. These two gentlemen are about to start duking it out this evening. Okay, and I'm looking at the polls online, and they show Biden ahead in most of the swing states.
We don't know what polls mean. Florida. Kingsley, what's poll?
I want to hear the question.
No, I've never heard of the word poll before. So I want someone to explain to me. I don't know what the poll means.
Well, let me finish now.
But can you explain the concept of a poll? I don't know what a poll means.
Hola.
A poll is an aggregation of public opinion.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
What kind of polls do you think I was talking about? Stripper
No, I
polls?
just don't know what poll me because since 2016, me I've banned poll from my vocabulary, so I don't know what poll
Okay.
means anymore.
Okay, so that sentiment might actually be the answer to my question, because my question is, when Trump ran against Hillary, I'm seeing the same trend, right? All of the mainstream media and all the polls basically put her ahead, and then we woke up the next morning and Mr. Trump had won. I see the same thing happening with the polls and all the pundits, minus Fox anyway, right? So
Including Fox,
I like to
actually.
feel, okay, including Fox now. All right. So I'd like to ask you guys, what is the pulse that you feel personally in terms of what's likely to happen between now and November?
But we're
Given
not there yet. So I wanted everyone to give us their last 4 years autopsy, or how they say it, what they've seen the last 4 years.
So let's press pause on that. We'll circle back to it then.
Okay, so I'm trying to know what question I'm answering right now. Am I answering the
last 4 years,
or am I answering Justin's question?
Last 4 years.
No, pause on my question.
Okay, so let me put it this way, right? Let's cast our minds back to 4 years ago when Hillary Clinton was debating Donald Trump. Now, this is my view, right? A president debated a clown. The president won the debate, but the clown won the election, right? And when you give a clown leadership of a country, you get a circus. And what we've seen for the past 4 years is a circus, okay? Now, I want to make this point, and I'm sure there are some of my conservative friends watching, or Republican friends, or people, and not some friends, I might add. But I have always had my D versus R debates. I've always said I lived for 5 or 6 years under George Bush, who was a Republican, whom I disagreed emphatically with. W, right? In this country. But while I had my fierce disagreements with George Bush and his policies, not once did I ever doubt that he was implementing policies that he felt made the country better. Now, I disagreed with his policies, but there was never a time where I thought, man, this guy is just doing his own thing. This guy, in my opinion, all I've seen is try to further his own interest. He has essentially leveraged bigotry and also and all forms of being discriminatory, right, to other Americans, to divide, right, in a manner that makes the country not move forward. In addition, I have seen a disengagement from the world. America is meant to lead, right, or has been leading, right? You look at institutions like NATO, right, where America has worked with other nations towards national development and things like that, right? And in the guise of saying America first, what has happened is America alone. Because to be honest, the world has actually been moving on without America, right? So these are not things that put America in a competitive light, right? Look at COVID right now, right? COVID is a pandemic, but we have this guy saying that COVID was essentially something that China is leveraging just to
China.
And it's ridiculous, right? Even under George W. Bush, a Republican, right? there would have been a coordinated global attempt that America would have been leading to deal with a global pandemic, because global situations call for global solutions, not just an insular situation. You understand? So that kind of insular mindset is a mindset that is going to set America back. And what's paining me is that we all were, growing up, we all saw America, America, good. I want to be there. I want, to experience this. I want to be part of this system. I now had the opportunity to come, and it's now when I'm now here and things are in order, right? That this guy is essentially is essentially trying to preside over decline.
He's raining on your parade, eh?
Over the decline of America. I mean, again, back to COVID, right? Other countries in Europe, while they are still dealing with COVID, is by no means solved. But a semblance of normalcy is returning to these nations. With an American passport, I still can't go into Canada. What the hell? What the hell? Right? So, in terms of what we are looking for tonight, what I want to see is Joe Biden's vision. Now, obviously I support Joe Biden, and I'm well versed in his policies and what he wants to do. But I think there is a large constituency of people who will be watching tonight who have said, okay, you know what? I've been hearing this to go at it. There's been a lot of. Let me watch and hear what's going on. And I want to hear Biden say, hey, listen, it doesn't have to be this way. We've gone through all this. And a lot of people kind of think, well, this is how it is. It does not have to be this way. It didn't have to be this way 4 years ago. And it doesn't have to be this way 4 years from now. Here's what I'm going to do to deal with COVID. To deal with it.
All right. Thank you, James. Okay, cool. So we just got our special guest that just joined us, Insay. Insay, just a little quick rundown.
Hi, Insay.
We have a conversation here. So we would just like you to introduce yourself. What we are talking about is the last 4 years. What has it been? How does it look like for you? What are some of the things that have worked well, and some of the things that has not gone too good? And what are your expectations? What would you like to hear tonight at the debate, the presidential debate? So, but you're a very busy person. We only have you for 30 minutes, and you're doing very, very amazing work. So if you can spend a few minutes to tell us about what you're doing, but also give us kind of your synopsis of the last 4 years and what your expectations are for tonight.
Okay, I will. So first, thank you for having me, and forgive me for my tardiness. I try to be better, but I am still very much an BBO girl from Uyo, and who gets to meetings late. But I'm working on it. So good evening, afternoon, wherever you are. So I run an organization. I'm the CEO of an organization called the New Georgia Project. My co-founder, the woman who started the organization with me, her name is Stacey Abrams, and she was running for governor in the state of Georgia. And had that election not been stolen,
robbed, yes, robbed.
Election not been stolen, she would have been America's first Black woman governor of any state in the entire 247 year history of the Republic. And we know that it was stolen because the ultimate win margin was 54,000 votes. And her opponent in the race, who was also the Secretary of State and sort of the chief elections officer, removed about 200,000 Black people from the voter rolls within.
So if this was Nigeria, the election would have been inconclusive.
right. But, you have to have a governor. And so they stopped counting. There are tons of lawsuits, but ultimately we now have an asterisk governor in Brian Kemp in the state of Georgia. And I mean, ultimately, that's what I do at the New Georgia Project, is that we work, oftentimes there are assumptions about demographics in America. So like Black voters do this, white voters do this, women do this, Asian Americans do this. But the truth of the matter is that the Black diaspora, if you will, in the US is extraordinarily diverse. So we're talking about African and Caribbean immigrants. We're talking about folks who are born in the US, right? We're talking about folks who are born in North America, in Canada. Even like being Canadian, in a Black Canadian, is a completely separate, different set of experiences in the US. Not to mention the size and scale of the United States, and it's 350 million people. So a Black person growing up in Miami has a fundamental, totally different experience from a Black person growing up in New York or Los Angeles or Iowa.
Or
right?
Texas.
Or Texas, exactly. And so what we do is that we bring a data-informed approach to progressive political infrastructure. So we want to say, just saying someone is Black and a voter is not enough, that there is more to learn about these sort of sub-demographics within Black voters, one. But also, two, we have a saying within the organization that culture eats strategy for lunch every day. Mm-hmm. And so while we are at super strategic, like we've helped 500,000 Black, Latino, and Asian voters register to vote just in Georgia alone. And so we know that we have fundamentally changed the political landscape. You add 500,000 voters of color and 500,000 voters under the age of 30, we have a ball game. And so while we are very strategic about that, ultimately we know that we have to change the culture of elections. We have to change the culture of democratic participation. And so what that means is, I would say don't go to our YouTube page, but I feel like that will encourage people to go to our YouTube page. But viral videos, dance crazes, whatever. We have played video games, so we just got an agreement with EA Sports to stream Madden 21, which is a football video game. We had a Madden tournament on National Voter Registration Day, which helped us register almost 4,000 young people in one day, et cetera. So we're very, very strategic, but we lean heavily on culture as a way to change how people look at citizenship and the rights and responsibilities of citizenship. And then ultimately, we have an ethic of love and power. We do what we do because we love ourselves, we love our families, we love our communities, and we do what we do because we need to build power. Power is the only thing that can stop bad things from happening to us, and it's the only thing that we can use to shape the country that we want to live in. And I'll stop.
Thank you. So, does anybody have any question for Inte before I move ahead? If not, so the last, I don't think you answered the last 4 years. How's life been? But especially, what would you like to hear tonight at the debate? Yes.
Oh, so I want to hear about just one, what their analysis is about racial justice. I think that people think that it's just like, oh, I'm so tired of them talking about Blackness. But what I think it is important to address is that white supremacy or centering whiteness has been very destructive for not only our democracy, but for our economy. And so it's time to have some real conversations about how destructive it has been to our economy and how we move past it, how we move forward. I want to have real talk and real conversation about the environment. I think that there's also an assumption that, again, it's wealthy, middle class and upper class folks that only care about the environment. And what I know is that in our communities, we're talking about asthma, we're talking about cancer rates, we're talking about maternal mortality, we're talking about oil and how it is, our oil dependency and how it is a national security issue. So I want to have a sophisticated conversation about the climate crisis that's more than just climate change is a hoax. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not.
All right. Kingsley. Kingsley.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, it's a conversation. So I need this to be more interactive. So I need you guys, if you have questions for Insay, ask her because she'll be here for another 15 minutes, I think, or 20 minutes,
I have a
maybe.
question.
All right,
Did
go.
did you hear about? I think this is pretty recent. The 2016 elections. I guess it was the Trump campaigns honing in on Black voters and picking voters that they would deter to vote, and using Facebook and other social media to deter that vote. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that we are susceptible to it again? And I have to just throw in there, I have a couple of high school colleagues that I've talked to who said that they're not voting. And I'm like, wait, how do we do this again?
So, yes, absolutely. We are doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past if we don't learn the right lessons from it. The evidence is insurmountable. It is incontrovertible. There is no question. Black voters, be they Caribbean, African, or Black Americans, were the #1 target for misinformation and disinformation campaigns from bad actors, both foreign bad actors and domestic bad actors. I think the difference between 2020's presidential election and the 2016 presidential election is that the domestic bad actors, so Americans who are investing in these troll farms, in bots, in doing what's called digital blackface, right? That there's much more on the domestic side than we saw in 2016. One. Yeah, absolutely. So while Cambridge Analytica doesn't exist anymore as a corporation, to think that that knowledge base, to think that those tactics
There's Hawkfish
have
now.
there, huh? What'd you say, Neka?
Oh, I said there's Hawkfish. There's Hawkfish now. They've changed.
Exactly.
They've morphed into a variety of different names. They still exist. They just under a different name.
They rebrand. It's a rebrand, right? Like you think that your favorite rapper or your favorite celebrity who like went out and did something bad and got caught and then comes back and rebrands with like a new girlfriend or a new boyfriend or like a straight image. Like tons of people rebrand when they've been caught doing awful things. And so that's what Cambridge Analytica has done. And I would argue that, not even argue, again, the data supports the idea that this has actually been a tactic for quite some time, exploiting America's racial division as a way to deepen the divide in the country and in an effort to have an influence on elections and an influence on the economy. Because let's face it, wars are expensive and Russia doesn't have the money that people think that it does. The oligarchs themselves are wealthy and because they have taken money from the country itself. So they can't afford to fight a hot war. So the Cold War that is being fought now is digitally. Right, you can hire again a troll farm, some people in the former Soviet states. You can hire a troll farm of our siblings in Nigeria. Let's talk about it. Let's keep it a buck.
I was gonna go there. Just kept saying troll farms. I mean, there was a documentary on CNN, I think, and I think it led the farms, I think, to Ghana and Nigeria. But because one of the things that has been, I don't know how much you are in Nigerian political Twitter, but if you, and I don't know if you, and I'm not sure if you have heard the term of Nigerian Trumpist, but if you, and not to say that, oh, if you support a candidate is bad or not, but there's this set of people that trolls. They're not even from a troll farm or behind. They're like real life people that when you hear the things that come out of their mouth, you literally will do a double take. Like, did someone just say this? So I just want to make that comment.
It's basically the Nigerian equivalent of the evangelical community in the US. They draw a straight line from that community. That's where you get those kind of people from, because they tell them in churches and all of that Democrats are the Antichrist. So
And that's it.
Trump is God
They're the
sent,
same one
and
praying and
that's it.
fasting. They're the same one praying and fasting everywhere. I've seen those flyers.
Yeah.
All right. I have a
The
question.
same ones that tell you that that COVID was a product of 5G technology and all sorts of madness.
Listen, misinformation and disinformation is real.
I have a question for Insay from
A
the comment
lot of
section.
conspiracy theorists.
So the question is, I'll put it on the screen. The typical black voters understand how big issue like a big issue like climate change affects health.
I'm not going to allow myself to be derailed by the fact that black is in quotes, because I really want to know what that means. But I don't think that. I think that we are approaching the tipping point where the average American resident, the average actually global resident, recognizes the impact that climate is having on health. I think because, again, there's been so much misinformation and disinformation, you can pay scientists to actually come out and say that this is a debate. This is not a debate, right? Like, I think the indigenous Americans have a saying that we don't inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. And I think that it's really important. I think that thinking is sort of making its way into mainstream consciousness, which is why you see so many youth climate activists, because they're like, yo,
You guys are so stupid.
The earth. Hey, I know you're gonna die in 20 years, but I'm 12. Give me a chance to have clean water and clean air, right? I don't want to have to wear a hazmat suit to go play football with my friends.
Interesting.
I think, I mean, that question from Dr. Wasiu, right? I think it's coming from a place, I mean, this is me daring to jump into his mind, but if I ask that question, I would be coming from a place of not so much wondering if the Black community cares, but is this a focal point for the Black community, given what the Black community in the US has to contend with? It's almost like there's a multiplicity of issues and you have to rank them in some sort of priority, even though they are all important. So people are getting gunned down, and that seems to be the front burner issue for the community. So in that context, it begins to look like that community doesn't pay attention to things like climate change.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? Audre Lorde said that we're not single issue voters. We don't live single issue lives. So it is reductionist to try to say, I mean, for the purposes of polling and research and talking heads, et cetera, and commentary, it's helpful to say, this is a climate voter, this is a Black Lives Matter voter, this is a bread and butter vote. This is a soccer mom. It is helpful to reduce people to a single issue, but that is completely contrary to our realities.
Yeah, you really can't disentangle those threats from one another in practical life. I get that. Yeah.
So I have a question for in my view, as far as a lot of Black voters are concerned, I don't think it's a choice necessarily between Biden and Trump. I think it's a choice between voting and apathy, in my opinion, right? And I cast my mind back to 4 years ago, where we saw quite a few Black people in places like Milwaukee decide not to vote, just stay home. Michigan, not
Ohio,
vote. In Cleveland, Ohio, a bunch of places where, and far too many people who had views that varied from, oh, she's going to win it anyway, there's no need for me to vote, to, oh, they're both the same.
Our vote don't count.
And my vote doesn't count, and blah, blah, blah. And so my question is, I want to tap into your voter organizing knowledge in Georgia, especially with working with Stacey Abrams. How exactly are we working to counter that? What are the voter mobilization initiatives that's going out there? And how do we ensure we get people not just to vote, but to stay in line to vote? And because, as you know, it's normal when you have an election, they all of a sudden but polling machines stop working and lines, as we saw in Texas, go 9 hours long. What what are our mitigations for places for situations like that?
Right. Well, Amilcar Cabral says that we should never lie to the people, right? So I think that the first thing that we have to acknowledge is that the 2016 presidential election was the first U.S. presidential election without the full protection of the Voting Rights Act. If
Mm-hmm.
you recall, in 2013, there was a Supreme Court case called Shelby versus
Hobby. Yeah.
Holder, yep, that kicked the teeth out of the Voting Rights Act, that completely ripped it to shreds, right? So the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which blocked the US and certain states from doing all of the voter suppression things that we see happening right now. And so 2016 was the first presidential election after Shelby versus Holder. So that's one thing. So what you saw with a 10,000 vote margin in a place like Wisconsin was not only quote unquote voter apathy, which we will address, but also a massive voter suppression scheme. We're
Mm-hmm.
talking about voter IDs, we're talking about long lines at the polls, we're talking about people being purged from the voter rolls, we're talking about misinformation and disinformation, we're talking about ads and billboards and flyers and mailers in Black communities targeting Black voters and young voters, right? So people who are unfamiliar with the process, lying about the election date, lying about Clinton, calling her a pedophile, right? So like it was all of these things together that worked together to give us the outcome that we saw in 2016. And so when we talk about the things that we are doing to combat those, it's aggressive digital media literacy, right? That the idea that we can all help combat misinformation and disinformation. I was joking with my mom the other day that I got promoted into the auntie group chat. And so every now and then, between Bible verses, we'll get information about like, Nigerians have like 24 hours to evacuate the US, so we're going to start deportations, et cetera. And so misinformation that comes in, and that we all have a role in making sure that we combat that down, because we are trusted messengers in our communities, number one. Number two, we file a bunch of lawsuits. Not only do we fight in the court of public opinion in terms of trying to challenge the narrative, but we actually fight in court. We came out of court yesterday. Because they were trying to purge 14,000 voters with 37 days until the election in Atlanta. And so, listen, if you've ever had a partner, like a boyfriend or girlfriend, that knew that they were about to get dumped, and they started acting shady and like being jerks, or if you had a colleague or a coworker that was about to get fired and everybody knew it, and they start stealing office supplies and shit. Oh, excuse me. But they start stealing office supplies.
Go ahead.
They start stealing office supplies, showing up to work late, like generally not caring. That is what you're seeing with Republicans in this country right now, particularly in the South. That if it was one person, one vote, if every person was able to vote free of these additional hurdles that are placed, they would be out of here. In a marketplace of ideas or a marketplace of ideology, no one, like the majority of people, are not buying what the Republicans are selling. And so the way that they are able to continue to stay in power and have the White House and the US Senate and most governorships is by cheating.
It's usually gimmicks, yeah.
Yeah, it's cheating.
Redistricting, redlining, all that stuff.
Right.
Gerrymandering. So I know this is fun conversation, but before you hop off, you're going to be doing us a disservice. You don't tell us quickly your American story, and what the American dream looks like for you.
Okay. So one, I want to flag that I can stay till like I got another 15 minutes if that is interesting to you all.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. And my American story is really simple. You know, my parents were a part of the, this might offend some people, but it's true, the brain drain. Africa's best and brightest leaving in the 70s, right after independence, right after the Biafran War. And seeking like economic opportunities and going to university in Europe and in the US. In my parents' case, it was in Atlanta. My father, you know, is an architect and a city planning by training. And so dad came to school in the US, came back home to marry his sweetie. They had the precious bundle of joy that is yours truly. And then I think that, you know, it rolled into primary school. My parents made the decision to move back to the US. So I was actually born in Ibadan, but as you can tell, my people are from Akwa Ibom. Used to be Cross River, is now Akwa Ibom. And
Do
so,
you speak any language?
of course. I
Oh
mean,
wow.
let's be clear. You don't speak a BB on my house, you don't eat. So, and I don't know if you can tell, but Mama eats well.
Very good.
So yeah, came here when I was in primary school, in elementary school with my parents, and have been here ever since. I think that, and sort of my American dream, my American story is that, listen, I became a U.S. citizen when I was in high school because I realized that I wasn't going to be eligible for financial aid as a green card holder. Listen, I don't play by my paper either. And so, you know, my parents are divorced. My dad moved back to Nigeria. And my mom and I, you know, she got a second job to hire an immigration attorney so she could put her pennies together. And I was responsible for helping, making sure that we passed the citizenship exam. And yeah, we took it together. And I became a US citizen when I was in high school with my mom. And I think that, you know, for me, you know, the founding fathers, like the sort of the foundational documents of America, right? The freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom of press, like those are all aspirational, right? Because the truth of the matter is that they were racist and they held slaves. So, I mean, these are facts, right? And so my dream is that we continue to build on and improve on the US's foundational documents, that we never stop aspiring to, you know, all of the things that come after we the people. And that my ultimate dream is and the work that I do is ultimately to help us build a bigger we, a bigger us. So when we're talking about we the people and we hold these truths self-evident, that I want all Nigerians, all Africans, all people under the sound of my voice and people on this land to see themselves in the we of we the people.
Interesting.
Fantastic.
Interesting. I like that point because like I said, me and this trolls fight about that we part. I don't know if you remember when COVID started and there was an emergency evacuation from Nigeria. Newsflash: a lot of Nigerians come have their kids here, and a lot of them live back in Nigeria. So people were trying to leave the country. So there was a big image of the U.S. trying to get out U.S. citizen, but happened to be a lot of a lot of Nigerians. And someone made a comment like, "Look at this ones. They're asking for American citizens, but this one showed up." And in my mind, I'm like, "Excuse me, there are a lot of American citizens who live in Nigeria, or who have kids that are American citizens." So that's a very important thing for me that we all see ourselves as the we, or not cast aspersions because of the way someone looks and be like, "Oh no, you're not a real American because you don't look a certain way." I remember I was watching a campaign thing for Trump campaign, and they were telling this Hispanic person to leave. They were like, "You leave. You're European, and you came you came over here and stole the plan from the natives." So I I don't subscribe to telling anyone. I feel like we all belong to the we. As long as you're a citizen, you're part of the country. But it really makes me from the outside looking in, and I wanted to like kind of move into the immigration thing. And I know Nick has worked a lot on the immigration aspect of all of this. Is that being an immigrant moving to the country and how you look at what we should be expecting in the next 4 years, whoever becomes president. Um, why is this election important to people that are not even here?
Right.
Okay, I want you to kind of give us an insight into what you think, why people, even people that are not here, should be paying attention.
Right. Because borders are fake. Because if the U.S. doesn't have a leader that understands that we can't pollute the ocean and we can't pollute the air, your children will be impacted by it regardless of where you are. Borders are political inventions. They're not real, right? So when we talk about like what is happening with our earth, and I don't know why I'm focusing on climate today. I left a press conference earlier and we were talking about young Black people and climate, but also because it's super important because despite all of our petty beefs and again our political back and forth, that the air we breathe, the water that we drink, the land that we live on, like those are things. There's not an earth two. There's not a backup earth, right? Like we don't have anywhere else to go. So I think that so having a global superpower that is accountable to other nations and to the people of other nations is important. Right now, we have a completely unaccountable, bad actor, thief, liar, as the commander in chief of the United States. Like, are you all comfortable with him having the nuclear codes? Because I am not, right? Like, we have the ability to visit catastrophic levels of destruction with our nuclear weaponry, with the technology that we have access to, with our position as it relates to global financing. The results of this country's elections will determine whether or not we are able to get back on a course. And again, not to return to what we had before, but if we can chart a course forward that is more accountable, that recognizes that we are global citizens and that we are in this together. And so that's one option versus a validation of the bull that we have had to live through over the past 4 years and having someone double down on it, right? So police murders, police violence, the theft of the American treasury, just scandal after scandal after scandal, the attacks on housing, the raping of our natural resources, the raping of people's retirement funds, the idea that, Abraham Lincoln has a saying that, labor begets capital, right? So labor precedes capital, that capital is the fruit of labor. And so the attacks on workers while we're celebrating wealth is unsustainable, right? And we have a commander-in-chief, a person who is the sort of chief spokesperson for the United States of America as an experiment, as an idea, who is detestable. And so I think that in an attempt to normalize relations, normalize conversation, and again, build a future that serves us all, I think that people should care about what happens on November 3rd in the United States.
Fantastic.
And Paula, earlier you asked me, you asked everyone, what are some good things that happened in the last 4 years and what are some bad things? And for me, the chief bad thing from this Nigerian American here is that he has been dismantling the immigration system piece by piece. And I'm a lawyer and I don't practice immigration law, but I studied it in school and I do it pro bono every once in a while. And it almost seems to me like he has an immigration expert who is a conservative who is piece by piece taking it apart. And those of us that are American citizens, it's our right for our family to be able to come and visit us here.
Chain
So
migration.
Sorry?
Chain migration, right?
Well, chain migration, but also visiting. I mean, like the travel bans that he has put in place have kept people from joining with, yes, their spouses, but also their parents, their adopted children. Like, people here should care about that, but also people in Nigeria should care about that. So immigration is important, I think, here and also on the continent. And I know, Neka, you've been working on this.
Yeah, Neka, please come in. I know Neka's been trying to get on. Please chime in on any of the comments that we had so far.
I don't know how much time we have today to talk about the atrocities that Trump has been doing for the last 4 years. But I think we can start. No, it's serious because for some people, this is life and death.
Yeah.
And it is happening. Just 5 days ago, there was one flight chartered, 100 Somali people. People think that it's a joke, but it's really not.
Abby, that's your answer.
Last year in Dallas, right? We don't talk about these things because we don't think that it affects us, but it does. A small company, a tech company, they were replacing microchips from used parts. 600 people, out of which 92 people were Nigerians. That was a raid where people were working, families, people's moms, and we're here. For me, who works and sees this on a daily basis, the attack on legal immigration, because yes, we're talking about people who like to use this horrible word illegal immigrants, but let's face it, he has done more harm to the legal immigration system than the people that are coming here or trying to come here illegally. So when we talk about what he has done and why we should be caring, people are dying, and it's more serious than people make it to be. Look at, for example, 2 days ago, when he has proposed to have almost 30 African countries limit their education from 2 years visas to 4. Backward, from 4 to 2.
What?
We pay a lot of, yeah. Oh, you didn't know
Bora,
that?
you didn't catch this?
No,
Sorry.
this is the first time I'm hearing this.
Oh, you didn't catch that one, huh? You
Yeah.
wearing MAGA hat.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
No, I'm not MAGA. I'm not Nigerian or whatever they call now. I'm not even close to any of that.
Nigerian.
I really would love to have one of them on the show.
And I'm sorry to
They're
say,
just
I have
crazy.
broken a friendship over that. I have broken a friendship over that. Why?
I support it.
Because at this point, that is what is happening. Our lives as immigrants in this country is being threatened, whether you like it or not, right? And if you can support that, I don't care if it's, economics. Well, my money this year was right. Well, that's cool. My cousin can't come this year. He can't come visit. And that's on you. And you are representing that. So you and I'm sorry, can't be friends. Because I can't be suffering and seeing other people suffer, and you think that it's okay to represent that person. No, it's not okay. Yeah. So anyway, back to immigration and why immigration.
No, you're right. I want to affirm your position, Neka. Like, I can't be friends with someone that I know will do me harm. And if you will let someone into our circle or into my home that is clear about the harm that they don't mind visiting upon me and my family. Like, if my very humanity is under attack, if my very livelihood is under attack by someone and you support them, you're a threat to me. We can't be friends. What are you
Yeah,
talking about?
I definitely feel the same way. There are people I don't talk to anymore, and people have asked, "Hey, come on, it's just politics."
No.
And I said, "Listen,
Justin shook his head.
this is
It
my
is not just politics.
And I know
Besides,
where
politics,
where
yeah."
Justin is
So
coming from.
this,
I know where you're coming from,
this is
Justin.
my third time saying it on this program today. I have always had my D versus R debates, right? And we can always debate different policies on taxes or what healthcare policy should be, and so on and so forth, even climate change, right? But when someone is fundamentally saying, so to a lot of people, Joe Biden was somebody that they just decided, okay, since he won the nomination and my first, second, and third choice didn't win, um, I'm going to support him anyway because he's Joe Biden was my first choice during the primaries. A lot of people know this. Why? Because he framed the issues in a way that I have always viewed them. It is a battle for the soul of the country, right? Is this about, are we going to live in an America where they say people like me don't belong? Where someone would tell my child, born here, go back to where you came from, even if he's a sitting congressman, or
Yeah.
or he becomes president someday, and one of Lori Buruku says, "Share, let me see your birth certificate."
Unfortunate person, in case you don't speak Yoruba.
So that, in my opinion, that, in my opinion, is the foundation of all this. Because if you look at the founding documents of this country, before they got into healthcare, into different policies, before they got into what kind of, they started with we the people.
People.
That is we. And as has been noted, we was not always we, right? There was a time when, let me ask you guys this question. Do you know who the first people who had white rights were in this country? Not just white men, but white men who owned land. So not it wasn't just,
So there's a hierarchy.
yeah. So it's not just about, oh, you are a white man or so the black say. You have to not just be a white man, but a white man who owns land. And then it was expanded to, okay, oh, you are white, come and vote. And then on and on and on and on to where we are today. And there's a large constituency of people who believe when you hear "Make America Great Again," and you have some dullards who don't know better buying into it, what are they saying? They're saying, let's go back to the time when we were boss hog and you guys were on the foot. So that's what I'm gathered up against, and why I support a certain person.
Yeah. And say, I know that you said you only had a couple of minutes. It's been awesome hearing from you. Thank you.
Same. Okay, y'all are the coolest. I love this. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on, Saya.
Thank
We
you.
definitely
Yeah,
will
man.
have you back.
Please do.
We'll
37
definitely
days,
have you back.
37 days. Listen, send me.
We can do it.
Thank you. I have palm wine, like cola nuts, like all the celebratory things I want to share with you all on the other side of this. So.
Amen.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you very much, Jose. Take care. All right. So back to back to the house. I think it was a very good conversation and interesting insights that she shared. Justin, what's up? I know you had a couple of things on your mind. I can read your mind. So drive us.
Tell us what's on my mind.
You put a pause in something.
That's stuff about you can't be friends with people when it's just politics. I think it's very interesting because and I know I have a feeling that it comes from, you know, you're from the southeast in Nigeria, and a lot of times people will say certain stuff or be bigoted about things, and they'll just assume or expect it to just be like, oh, it's just talks, it's just politics or whatever. So I could definitely see that from you. But so with the context of this matter, what are your thoughts? And I know Nika and Abby still have a lot more stuff to talk about.
I mean, yeah, you're actually right. When people say it's just politics, I don't know where to start to respond from, because do you know what politics is? Politics is life. Life is political. So when you are actually affirming what you're trying to refute when you say it's just politics. The problem is you don't know what politics is. Things that impact on people's lives, people's livelihoods, things that make the difference between life and death are the issues that politics addresses. So when a conversation comes up, no matter what the specific subject or context is, and somebody wants to reduce it to it's just politics, you are here and the point is way over there, right? So I agree totally with Kingsley, and there's a parallel to that in local Nigerian politics, yeah? So you can bring this up in the context of racial tensions in the US, but back home here, it's the same thing, like you alluded to, Bola, when we have all those conversations about bigotry and all of that. And people think we can just have that conversation, it's just banter, and then we turn around and drink beer together. Mba, it doesn't work like that. because if you literally can argue a point that could kill me if the circumstances were right, then I have no business consulting with you on any level whatsoever. Just me, I don't believe in dining with the devil with a long spoon. No, me and the devil should not be in the same dining room. Just face your front, right? So to that extent, I completely resonate with the issues. But back to the election and the debate, I have a lot of angst, right? Like you said, some of us are not migrants, don't intend to be, but the world is a global village. I have business reasons to want to travel, business reasons to need to be in the US.
I mean, you've had some education in the US, right?
Yeah, and I'm pretty much a frequent visitor. Now, my visa expired in November. I was talking to Bola. I said, Bola, I'm not even applying for a renewal. And I
beg, I know what.
I said, because it's you could tell what the response was going to be. I mean, I have friends, I have associates. People were being bounced left, right, center. Your travel history doesn't matter. If citizens were being stripped of citizenship, if green card holders were being kept out of the country, then who am I? Neighbor from quote unquote shithole countries. Don't I'm Papa from shithole countries. But I looked at the whole thing and I was like, you know what? Whatever reasons I have to travel for now can wait. I am not going to lend my passport to that type of open and short situation, because they were basically just collecting the passports, stamping them refusals, giving refusals out like they were giving out candy. And so from that perspective, I'm also someone who's waiting to see what are you people going to decide come November 3rd. Now, whether that decision is going to be actually a decision that's reflective of the overwhelming mass of US citizens who are eligible to vote, the jury is out on that, because we might focus this conversation on the one individual who is at the forefront of all of this controversy. But the truth remains that, as we have all seen, he represents a significant mass of sentiment in that environment. You can't ignore that fact. So, elections aside, this is the reality that people of my color in the US have to deal with. That a lot of the people that are your fellow countrymen feel a certain type of way about you. What has changed since he that shall not be named came to power is he has emboldened people to say these things, right? He has brought the gremlins out. and now everybody feels free to say things that a few years ago
they couldn't
have
say.
pause. Yes. So that's fundamentally what has changed. It's not that the way people feel has changed. No, it's their inhibitions have been removed. It's almost like we can now see that the emperor wasn't wearing any clothes all this while. And that's the thing that troubles me. Because, hey, okay, so Biden wins. All the MAGA people, what's going to happen to them? Are you going to send them to a gas chamber? They're not disappearing. Yeah, so it's true now. So let's bring this thing
I've
out.
always thought about that. To be honest with you, that's always been on my mind.
So here's
and that's the thing I really think about, right? If let's all be here, okay. So if people are not me, I want Biden to win for the reasons I've stated. But let's say he wins. What happens to all these people? Are they going to go and hibernate?
Yes.
okay. So here's something that we have to realize, right? As you noted, these aren't people that just manifested out of nowhere 4 years ago. Okay.
Just to look at the screen. Here's an answer to your question. But Kingsley, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. If you take a look at American history, we've always had this undercurrents of people who like to other people, right? If you go back to the 18th century and 19th century when the Irish and the first Chinese immigrants were coming in, right? There was an undercurrent of people who were saying, no, Irish need not apply, no Polacks, no Chinese people, right? And then you move on to the 50s and the 60s, you had what was called the John Birch Society then, right? Which they were just against people and the diversification of America and things like that. And then you now switched it when Obama got elected. You saw the rise of the Tea Party movement and how they were burning him in effigy and all this. And unfortunately, Republicans used the Tea Party to get into power in the hope that, okay, we just want to use these people and get into office to launch our things. But as John Kennedy said, those who ride the back of the tiger to get to power always end up inside, right? And so what happened is that these people that they thought that they were just trying to ride into power became the power. And you had Donald Trump, who ran 4 years ago. And honestly, he was running not necessarily to win, but to just increase his brand initially. And then he realized that wait a minute, there is a groundswell here. And all of a sudden, he started winning. And when the Republican leadership saw and said, wait a minute, this is getting too far. First, they wanted to stop him because they thought he wouldn't win. You know, you look at people like
Lindsey Graham.
Lady G of life.
Who first came out and said, oh, if we let Donald Trump win, we're going to get killed and we will deserve it. He's Donald Trump's lackey today, right? So they are not going anywhere.
Shamelessly.
But power is important. And if you've watched Game of Thrones, there's a saying, power is power. They will not go anywhere. But
they don't have power.
Empowered. So that's why this is important. And he's done a lot of damage that I think it will take time, but can be redone. But if you give this guy a second term, I am not convinced that that's just going to be the end of it. During his rallies, they now chant 12 more years. They are not joking.
Let me say this on air now, live. That happened.
The waters.
Straight Niger. Nobody will have to even convince me. I'm going straight.
They are not joking. Right?
I don't think they're joking. I don't think they're joking either. I mean, if precedents are anything to go by.
Because if you think about the Supreme Court now, if they can do that, they can use the Supreme Court. They can use any of those things. Yeah. Abby, are you scared?
I'm not scared actually, because I believe in our democracy. And you asked Justin if Biden wins, do we send all of those nasty Trump supporters to the chamber? No, they have a First Amendment right, and we let them talk, but we let them go take several seats, and they can go strategize until later. And to be honest, I believe that they are in the minority. They lost
They are what?
they're not in the majority. They lost the popular vote in 2016.
Yeah, but Abby,
No.
let me wait now.
Are not in the majority. They just
Abby, let's say they are 40% of the voting population. 40% is not a minority.
No, I've read
might not win the popular vote, but it's not a minority.
So let me even
all of the people who voted for Trump are not overt racists. They are conservatives who did not want, a lot of them, not all of them, and more of them than we'd like to know are racist, closet racist. But I do not believe that all of the people who voted for President Trump are overt racists. So
I don't think everyone who voted for Trump is a racist. I do, however.
I don't think so either.
Wait now. I don't think everybody who voted for Trump is a racist. I do, however, believe that Trump is a racist.
I do too.
And everyone who voted for him didn't think that racism was enough of an impediment to not vote for him. And to me, that's equally bad.
Okay.
I think that's also a problem. Yes.
Let me add two things about.
And it's even worse this time because he's had 4 years to be racist and to promote racist policies. So people who are still willing to vote for him because it's in their self-interest are becoming closer to being overt racist themselves. But I don't think that all of them.
I am not going to be as politically correct as you. So I might concede that the first go round, not everybody was racist. But anybody who is going to vote for him this election.
Let me even
the better to just take the label and move on.
I just collect it. What I'm going to add What I'm going to add is that most people that don't support Trump, to me, I feel like they're invested, but they're regular people. See, 10% alone of these MAGA people are as bad as they can be because they are not just, oh, yeah, when it's time, let's go vote for Trump. These are folks that are, because of their agenda, their racist agenda in America, in fact, their impact, it's like one MAGA's impact is as much as 5 people because I'm going to vote for Biden, right? Have you ever seen me with Biden gear on my body ever? Or these people walk around. In fact, I don't think they wear anything other than MAGA clothing. Like
so it's a cult movement right now, and that's what makes it even more powerful
and it's dangerous. So even if they're 5,000, they are very potent.
I think it's a cult movement among the louder of them. But let's be for real. The problem of 2016 was those people who were not loud and vocal, who were not being polled, who were quietly going to the voting booth and voting for President Trump. So and those are the voters that were voting in their self-interest. And I hope that they don't do it again. But again, I don't think that everybody that we have that many overt racists. And I don't think that there's enough of them.
But they are now, though, according to Justin's point, which I agree with. Like, if you see all what's going on, and like you could just see, and some of them are subtle racist, some of them it's already in their blood, so they don't even know what they're doing, but then it's still racist. Like you could just see it. And a lot of times, also, this points to, like, if you be ingratiated with the system, and you start hearing people from Nigeria, oh, Trump, and they don't understand the pain that we feel. Like when Justin was saying something about life and death. See, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a Bernie fan, right? And Kingsley, he knows this, and I was texting Kingsley every day during the primaries. Kingsley, don't do this to me. If this guy, I'm not voting, no. So and Kingsley will send me a message like, Bola, this is much more bigger than what you're saying. This is much more bigger. And I was like, you know what? Okay, I don't want Bernie to win. So what am I going to do? Okay, start supporting the candidate. Election day, my wife was out of town. My 2 kids were with me. 2 kids we were on my hip at the polling booth. We went to vote. So when someone far away is talking rubbish, I'm just like, you people don't understand how life. Because I've seen this thing. I'm not gonna lie. In 2016, I wanted Hillary to win and everything, but the thought of Trump was tickling to me. I was like, oh my god. Because personally, I don't even look at Trump in the he's a racist guy. I just think he's like I don't really think there's a lot of things up there. So it makes me laugh, right? But it's not funny anymore. It's not. There's nothing funny about this guy. When he started, when I heard, we're not just going after illegal immigration. We also want to stop legal. I said, what? I thought it was going to be. Some people thought it was going to be bad, but not this bad. And
I have to say, I'm surprised that you people surprised. I am surprised at
this bad. You expected it to be this bad?
Were we blind?
This bad, though. I don't think anybody thought it would be this bad.
Wait a minute.
We could be talking about Nigeria right now, Bola. We could be talking about people that voted Buhari and they were saying, we thought it would be bad, but we didn't know it would be this bad.
Let's keep Buhari aside, please.
don't give Kingslap attention.
For all of Donald Trump's faults, this man told us exactly what he was going to do.
That was his campaign.
So when people like you, Bola, say this, I'm like, were you drunk? Like,
come on, man.
No, wait, Bola, chill. The man said, we are going to build a wall and nobody is coming in. It's going to be America first. The man said that he's going to clear out everyone that is illegal. Wait, talking about, so he just appointed a Supreme Court nominee and people are like, Roe v. Wade. Are you people stupid? This is a man who said 4 years ago that women who have abortion should be punished. He said that on national TV.
Yeah, so a lot of times when he talks, I just think this guy's a moron. So I don't think that he had it in him. Like this guy's the dunce.
You see, that's the thing, right?
The joke was on you, bro.
People are going to let this guy joke you into hell, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Listen, a lot of politicians don't do what they say they will do.
He did.
This man has done
He does it.
exactly what he said he was going to do. So I don't know why everybody.
Well, kind of. No, he has actually not done a lot of what he said he would do.
And running around like
Mexico still hasn't paid for that wall.
Yeah.
What he said he was going to do.
Have you seen the wall?
It's a proverbial wall.
Have you seen the wall?
So this is him.
I actually have.
This is him facing everything we've experienced.
Like stretches of it in El Paso. Sorry.
Nika, we can't see you. Can you come on? Because we need your input. Yeah, come on. Talk me off this ledge.
I'm sorry. I was hungry. I didn't want to eat in front of you people.
Because you didn't want to share.
You didn't want to share.
Because you didn't want to.
I made pasta.
Neka, do give
I was not kidding. I'm not eating lunch.
Neka, do
It's
give
almost
away. Do
4
give
o'clock.
away. Do give away. But
If we do give away,
alone.
if we do give away, they'll say it's vote buying.
Here that want to talk to us.
You said what?
Aren't there any Trump supporters around here?
I've asked. So this is their MO, right? They will comment on everything, but let's say they were like, if there are 3 of them, they will come. But I dare to see if any of them just come here and have a conversation with us. I've been trying to find people. I posted online. I've asked people. I've not heard, but I'm like, but when I put a post, they always comment on it. Why is it so difficult for you to come share your ideals with us? And maybe all of us are stupid, and you're the only one that is smart that understands what's going on. But I always try to get them on. But
So pose up for you guys. This is me looking at the worst case scenario. So yeah, I was kidding. Obviously nobody's going to the gas chamber, but so we wake up on November 4th, and God forbid, what happened in 2016 happened again. What do you think the next 4 years would hold for America, and then globally?
Can I start? You didn't ask me what I want to start, and I want to tell you where I want to start because in 2016 was when I just started my business, Scholar X. In fact, we're in DC, we're at an accelerator, we're in a shared house. Unfortunately, he's not here today, Boye, and we're in the same room when this thing happened. We woke up in the morning and I couldn't look at my phone because before we went to bed, we saw that the tide was tilting towards Trump. And for like 10 minutes, I couldn't look at my phone and I was dejected, right? And then eventually I looked at my phone and I confirmed what my fears were, that Trump had won. And I'm not going to lie, it was worse that a family died. But the one thing I just took in me was like, okay, I just started a startup. This would be my focus for the next 4 years. So I found something that has allowed me to sort of like mentally thrive during this whole madness. Now, I don't want to mentally thrive, I just want this man to go. So I'm not even so I'm not even giving myself. I don't want to look for anything again to say, okay, this is what I'm going to hold on to be able to survive this man being president. Like, I was even going to ask everyone, like, where were you 4 years ago when it was announced the winner of the elections? And if you want to, you can share with us. But my point is, yeah, there's always something to hold on to that'll give you strength to say, okay, let's move forward on. But I don't even want to get to that place. I don't want to think about it. This is a zero sum thing for me. Trump must go.
Amen.
That's not a very pragmatic. That's not a very pragmatic way to look at it. If you ask me,
it's not. There's not a pragmatic about what I said.
It's not a shoe-in. If you ask me, I hate to say it, but it's not a shoe-in.
It's not.
And we don't
said it is.
I don't
we
know
don't
if I can
believe that it is a shoe-in, because that's what happened last time, and that gave people the excuse to stay their asses at home, and they need to go out and vote. They need to vote if they're American citizens in Nigeria right now. You need to get your absentee ballot to you. If this is the first time,
I know some that are already doing that. Like I was talking to my guy last week, he was going to the embassy to drop his ballot. Yeah.
Thank God. We need everybody to do that. If you're not registered, you need to register. We need to be thinking about those 17 year and 52-day-old people. We need to register them right now so they're eligible when election day comes. Like, we don't need any excuses, and we don't need to listen to polls. Like, every single person needs to come out.
No poll. You can't talk to me about poll. I'm sorry.
Especially because they don't poll us, and they poll a lot of people that don't represent us, in my opinion. So they don't really mean that much. But to answer your question, Bola, I think people need to be prepared that this election might not be resolved the night of election night. So last time I was at a bar hoping that we would have our woman president.
Man.
It didn't happen, and we knew that night. But because of COVID, because of absentee ballots, because of long lines at polling locations, potentially we
won't know for maybe a few days, if not a week. So.
Yes, even the next day or a couple of days, we should know the answer. But it might be close, and I hope it's not. But if that makes you go vote, then it might be close. But if something happens and Biden,
it should be a landslide.
It should be a landslide. Kingsley. Answered, and
it has to be.
Then
what are we talking about?
To emphasize that people should be voting blue no matter who. They should be voting from top to bottom for Democratic candidates, because then we can flip the Senate, hold the House, and limit the things that he does, because he's president and he has overstepped his power so many times, and Congress has had no answer. If we flip the Senate, then we can have an answer. We can legislate out things that he does by executive order. Then also, I think if we flip the Senate, hold the Congress, then I think that I actually anticipate we'd have closed borders more than we have right now, but hopefully Congress can fix that with immigration laws and hopefully comprehensive immigration reform. Something that he stokes, and I think he would do it more. I think we might have race wars. Like, we're going to continue to have protests. We're going to continue to have civil unrest. And if he continues to be president and he continues to say that there's good people on both sides and he calls us thugs, like, we're going to continue to have that. And I'm actually afraid of that.
Also, Justin, to answer your question, I'm going to buy a gun if that happens.
Bola, calm down.
I'm not playing. I'm not joking. You think I'm joking, but it's not a joke. You can think you're joking.
Bola, calm down. You have got back into the world.
You mean you have not bought one already?
I didn't.
It's the right that we have.
I didn't say anything bad. I just said I'll be a licensed gun owner in the US. There's nothing. I didn't say I'm going to buy the whole.
What Kingsley saying is, if you want to do, don't talk.
Calm down. So, Justin, you said what happens if he wins, and I also want to finally answer the question you raised regarding polls. Abby definitely expressed my thoughts there, right? My friends tell me I have 2016 PTSD. That
that stuff is
that the data is much better now. They are sampling the right people. I have heard. I do not buy the polls at all, because let me tell you. Oh no! Let me tell you something. 4 years ago, some of the same people who followed me to be abusing Trump on social media
voted for him.
Voted for him. And after he now won, he now came and
Are you serious?
And what
are you saying?
Right? Like, they voted for him and they said, yeah, I just wanted
the emails.
I just emailed, and it can't be that bad. And you know, so I do not trust the polls. What I do trust, and that's why I asked and say that, what is your voter mobilization strategy? Right? How are we getting people to the polls? How are we making sure that in states that have discriminatory ID laws, that they have the requisite IDs to be able to vote if it is in person? For those who are doing mail-in ballots, right? If you look at a state like Pennsylvania, for instance, during the primaries, they have this situation called naked ballot. What is a naked ballot? A naked ballot is a ballot where when you receive it, there is supposed to be a secrecy envelope that you put in your ballot before you put it in the mail-in envelope. Okay? Now, in Pennsylvania, a lot of people made the mistake of not putting their ballot in the secrecy envelope, just put it in the mail-in envelope. It's a very easy mistake to make. Now, during the primaries, it was ruled that they could allow those ballots. So they allowed those ballots in the primaries. But for the general election, the court, the GOP filed a suit and won that suit. You see, this is where Democrats are not being strategic enough.
But this is where the Republicans always go to.
And won the suit that allowed for naked ballots in the state of Pennsylvania to now be disqualified. So for the general election, if you mail your ballot and your ballot is not in the secrecy envelope, your ballot will be disqualified. What are we doing to educate voters to say yes, if you get your ballot, fill it, sign it, and put it in the secrecy envelope in addition to the mailing envelope.
Me, I'm just going to the polls. All this grammar that everybody's speaking, I'm sick.
No, but wait.
I'm just going to go for.
Ola, there are states like mine. I'm in the state of New Jersey, right? In the state of New Jersey, it is all mail ballots. There is no voting at the polls. If you go to the polls, you will receive a provisional ballot, not a main ballot. They are doing all mail ballots in the state of New Jersey, and I don't think New Jersey is the only one.
Because of COVID, or that's just how it is?
Because
Okay.
Yeah, but it was pretty.
we've always had mail-in ballots, right, in New Jersey, but for COVID, we are doing all mail-in ballots.
Oh, okay. Wait, Kingsley, Nika, I know you said something about the voting initiatives that you guys have going on. So if you wanted to share that with the public here, please feel free.
Okay. So I'm gonna be very brief. I'm just gonna give a rundown of things that people need to do right now. I know that this is an international audience, but there's obviously some US citizens tuning in as well, I think. So the first thing is, one, fill out your damn census. Go to my2020census.gov and fill out that darn thing, because your tax dollars, all the funding depends on you filling out the census. So do that. That's number one. Number two, register to vote. iwillvote.com. Very easy. iwillvote.com. You can check your registration, whether you're registered, whether you need to, update your address.
I put it in the primaries. Let me check it again. I said, go ahead. I'm checking it again.
You want me to repeat the website?
So I will vote.
Okay, so the first thing is my2020census.gov. No, it's iwillvote.com.
.com, okay.
Not org, .com. So that's for census, and that's for voter registration. And then for Texas, I live in the state of Texas. The last day to register to vote is October 5th. So if you got it, postmark, if you're ready, if you got somebody to register you to vote, all of that stuff needs to be all good and ready to go by October 5th. The first day to vote, this is what Democrats are saying. I know this is a nonpartisan show, but screw it. I'm a Democrat. Vote early. Don't wait until November 3rd to vote. No, this is an election that needs to be won on a landslide, so we can't afford to wait November 3rd. No, we need to vote and vote early as soon as possible. So if you get a chance, October 13th in the state of Texas is the first day you can vote in person early. And then what else am I missing? Local elections count too. Don't just think about presidential elections. There's elections all the time. There's a municipal elections, there's mayoral elections, there's city council elections. Find out what is going on around you. Don't just sit there and wait for information to come to you. Oh, this person is going to tell me this person is going to. No, go and search for it yourself. I think a lot of the times we make the mistake of not searching for information. So my best advice is
I'm registered.
That. And the reason why, great. I'm great. I know you are.
I'm so nervous. I know I'm
registered,
ready. But I'm checking again. I just have to check one more time.
I know you're locked and loaded. I'm preparing. Yeah. If you're in the Houston area, I am hosting a census and voter registration drive-through this Sunday after church. Whether you're going to Dominion, wherever you go, come with your car and the truck. We'll have volunteers. They will sign you up. They will census you. They will vote you. You'll be ready. What else? It's going to be at Wazobia. Shameless plug. But yeah, it's going to be at the Wazobia on Beach Nut.
Wait. Do you have a hand in Wazobia or what? Come on, self-share for us.
I wish.
Come on, self.
You left out absentee.
Although I know that we have commenters that are saying just go in person. At least in Texas and in Harris County, you can request your absentee ballot, and then you can drop your absentee ballot off in person so that you don't have the mail USPS nonsense that's going on affecting you. And October 23rd is the last day to request an absentee ballot. So if you think you're going to be here and you don't request it right now, cool. And then if you find out that you might be away during the voting period, you can go ahead and request it by then.
Oh, and then the third thing, before I forget, if you are registered, just like Bola, who's very smart, invite 5 other friends and make a vote plan with them. Don't just say, hey, you registered to vote, let's go vote. No, you need to figure out, hey, when are you voting? Are you voting on this
No,
day?
we're getting the boss. Kingsley, we're going to talk.
Bola, I told you, me, I'm ready.
I'm sorry, but I feel like we can't just talk about what will happen if we're not lifting one freaking finger to do something for it not to happen. So that's where I'm coming from. And needless to say is that African people in general should be more invested and interested into what's going on. So I beg you guys to, yes, vote on November 3rd, but after November 3rd, figure out a game plan to be more involved in what's happening around you. And if you don't know, follow an organization. I'm not saying mine. Follow somebody that knows.
Say
better.
yours. Say yours.
Say yours.
Yeah.
Say yours. Plug it.
What's your organization?
No, I'm not plugging.
Website. What?
No, I'm not plugging because we're still waiting for updates. Like I've been busy with elections, so I have not been doing any cleaning.
Abby, what's your website?
I am too busy for that right now.
Abby, what's your website?
So you can follow me on Instagram. My Abby the Problem Solver page is Abby the Problem Solver on Instagram, and I post election information on there. You can follow the Nigerian American Multicultural Council, NAMC Houston, on
what's their website?
NAMCHouston.org, and you can find out more information about programs we have going on. Of course, it's in the middle of COVID, so we don't have as many in-person things, but we have lots of virtual programming. So, but yes, follow me if you want voting information. And if you are lazy, and if your laziness would preclude you from registering to vote, then DM me and I will check your registration for you and help you walk you through the process of getting yourself registered.
And I also want to say, I when I lived in Texas, I served alongside Abby.
Which one is when? We just known you, Neil. You're coming back. Stop that stupid game there. You keep playing.
No, so when I lived in
just on loan.
No Yawa now. You know, I actually wish I was in Texas because my vote would actually mean a lot more in Texas than New Jersey, but it is what it is.
That's true because we're turning Texas blue this year. By God's grace.
There are a couple of elections that are even bigger to me. Like if 2 out of 3 happens, if we beat Lindsey Graham, John Cornyn, but Mitch McKenna, that won't happen. So if those 2 happen,
my only contribution to this part of the conversation is if the Republicans win in Texas, people should come and sue them in Supreme Court in Lagos.
So we never answered Justin's question, which was that if Trump wins, what happens?
Why do we want to answer that question? Please, trauma. I don't want trauma in my life.
Give it a shot. What happens? What will be the next play?
I will move on.
So let me tell you the honest.
We keep fighting. I don't know about. Well.
So let me tell you my honest view. My view is honestly, if Trump wins the election, give the American people what they want. If I were the minority leader in Congress, I'm not going to oppose anything. I'm not going to block anything. Give the American people what they want. Let them have it. Because sometimes
this is what I say.
No, I am 100% serious. 100%.
I beg land, though. I have not understood yet.
Sometimes you have got to give people what they want. I don't, because for the past 4 years, we have watched the Democrats in Congress do their darndest to block a lot of the harmful things that Trump has been trying to do, to their credit. A lot of people like to shit on Nancy Pelosi. I love that woman, right?
She's
that woman has faults, right? But unfortunately, a lot of people have taken these efforts for granted, and there have been a lot of bad faith agreements. And because there have been a lot of interference, right? The truth is that the impact of a lot of what Trump could have done, right, has been blunted. And in my opinion, that is what contributes to people saying, well, what really is the difference? You understand, right? So for instance, when they did the travel ban, I think you mentioned it, Justin. A lot of people don't know this, but green card holders were initially included.
Yes.
Somebody was asking that question in the comments that, are you correct? Green card holders were included in the initial travel ban. But because of the groundswell of opposition and everything, right, they blocked that and they allowed green card holders who would otherwise have been affected to come in, right? These are kind of the things that we have been doing to block. Okay, Obamacare, right? This guy wanted to gut this whole thing. As we speak, he is suing to strip Obamacare from people. And people are still saying that the election is close. So
should they even be close? Yeah.
So sometimes, right? They say, na belefu they worry you, right? you are too comfortable, and I think because there has been a lot of interference.
But Kingsley, I don't like this line of thinking because it has.
No,
it has Kingsley. Wait. It has some sprinkle of apathy in it. It has sprinkle of apathy and resignation in it. Kingsley.
Justin asked the question. He asked the question. What happens? In my opinion, if after all we have seen, it's one thing if you rigged it to them, by all means, let's fight till the very end.
But that's on the table. How is that not on the table?
But if we're just, no, wait a minute. If this guy wins this thing for real, then let him have it.
The American people have spoken.
They have spoken. Let them have it. And at the end of 2 years and 4 years, let us look at the result and say, America, is this what you want? If not, now let's vote. I think a lot of people are way too, I don't want to use the word cynical, but I don't think a good number of people get it yet. That this is what is at stake. Is it when we start collecting tribute for the Hunger Games that people will realize what's going on? How is it still this close? And it's because a lot of people are, Belefu still they worry you, in my opinion.
You are right in that point. Why is this even a close election?
It shouldn't be.
But I also think, but Kingsley, it might not be close. But I don't want to be in that.
My prayer is that it is not. Like
there's a good chance that it's not.
From your lips to God's ears.
Okay, right? There's a good chance that it's not close. But because of 2016, a lot of us don't want to even have that mind frame. And then because the PTSD, to be honest with you, is still there.
But that's being in denial.
Yeah,
that's being in denial.
No, it's not.
The fact that, and this is where my question was coming from. If you ask me again, as an outsider looking in, from what I see, this thing could go either way. I don't know how to call it. I don't know that anybody knows how to call it. So my question is, if it goes in the opposite direction from what you would wish for, from what we would hope for, what do you think happens next? What do you see going into 4 years after?
So I've said, for me, life continues for me. Begrudgingly, but what am I going to do? Pick up arms and start fighting for the ground?
It's not you that was talking that you were Rambo the 5
No,
minutes.
I'm going to buy a gun to protect my family, so I can just sit down and embolden people to come and do anything they want to me. No,
Rambo.
there's no Rambo there. You better be real about what's happening. You can be jogging in your neighborhood, and someone will say, "Hey, stop there." Someone that's not police can tell you to stop.
Okay.
No, it's real. I'm not making anything up.
So exactly, Bola, you've hit the point. So that will be very likely your existential reality, your lived reality, right?
But that is what
a lot of what you that's what's going on now. So he's going to be amped up.
Yeah. And he's not going to have anybody telling him he can't do anything. I'd be sorry.
I don't want to be completely defeatist, right? Again, I believe in the underpinnings of this democracy, right? And we have three branches of government, and he's president. Yes, he's head N-word in charge, but he's limited by the judicial branch and the legislative branch, and they've been doing that. And it's funny because I don't want his selection for Supreme Court to go through. It likely is going to go through, but I have been pleasantly surprised that Kavanaugh and Gorsuch have not completely lost their brains when things have come up.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And judges have integrity. They're supposed to uphold the rule of law. That's why they became lawyers. That's how they became judges. And that's how they should be when they're justices. So at the end of the day, even if Trump was to win, which I don't believe is going to happen, and I certainly don't hope for it to happen, we don't lose. We're not necessarily in the middle of an existential crisis. I understand that this is a battle for the soul of America, but those people that win will still be kept by the legislative branch and by the judicial branch. We'll still hopefully have the Senate, have the House, and limit his power. When he does something stupid, like when he passed the travel ban, Congress could have passed reform and wipe that out. They didn't, because they didn't have the power where it needed to be. That's why it's so important to vote up and down the ballot for Democrats, because that's what's going to limit Trump's power if he is to get to power. And all this stuff that he's saying, tongue in cheek, if you ask me, about not handing over power if he loses this time or if he loses in 4 years, I think that's BS. It's literal BS, because we always in this country hand over power. He's not bigger than that. He's protected by a U.S. Marshals and Secret Service that we pay for. We don't support.
No, but I know you're laughing, Justin. But what Abby's saying is she's not lying. No, this chicken is no dragging by his tail. No, seriously, this is not. This is not Nigeria.
Baby, coming down. I beg.
No, I'm not saying anything.
You're coming down.
She's not lying.
I saw them throwing tear gas. I saw them throwing tear gas at people outside the people's White House the other day.
Let me just say this.
That's nothing.
That's the new America. You're talking about the old one.
Let me say this, right? There are a lot of things that we never thought could happen that we are seeing, right? And I think if there's one thing Trump has shown, is that America's institutions hang by a thread. And it's a very, very thin thread. Okay? And the road to fascism is not a sudden road. It's not, all of a sudden. It's a drip.
It's a slow fade.
Now, Kingsley, you actually need to be calming down, because Kingsley, no, you need to be calming. I
stand with Kingsley. This is the stark reality from where I see it.
Just little by little, this one is going here. This one is going here.
Well, I stop messing with your mic stand.
You don't recognize. I don't recognize this country 4 years ago anymore. I don't. What are we saying? What are we saying?
You don't recognize this country.
I do not. From 4 years ago anymore. I do not.
Kingsley, things are bad, but this is
People
not.
are saying
But this is not Armageddon, okay? So
I didn't say it's Armageddon.
Yes, you sound like
For
it.
who?
You sound like
Who is not Armageddon?
It's not Armageddon. What I'm saying.
Who is not Armageddon?
No, he's saying
It's-
that it's not Armageddon. But what I'm that I'm
It's gonna get if he wins another 4 years. That's what's gonna happen. I'll tell you right now.
I'm witnessing
So-
a slow and steady chipping away. It's just little by little, chipping away. That's how it happens, and that's what you need to stop.
Anyways,
in principle, I'm just saying that we are all gladiators, to steal a term from Scandal, and the gladiators have not abandoned their positions. They've been bringing lawsuits when they need to, even under this administration, with him hoping to win again. If he wins again, we still have those checks and balances. We're still gladiators. We will still take to the street, and we will limit him. And in 4 years after that, he will leave, if not
all right.
to COVID.
All right. You know
The
what?
problem, though, is that if there's too many of them, too many Republicans in the House, in the Senate, nothing is going to move. With this administration, nothing will move. So I don't know in what other language has to be said. Please go out there, vote for people that don't have voice, and do it.
Just go vote. Go vote. Don't boo vote.
Like,
Go vote and see, go vote and protect yourself.
I just want to.
All this one Kingsley is saying.
Bolarambu.
But you live in New Jersey. I live in Texas. It's different. It's totally different. One of my friends, she was jogging around her neighborhood. The guy stopped her like, "Why is she jogging around here?"
Mm-hmm.
So like, bro, I get that part that things are looking different, but some of these things have always been around for a while, depending on the part of the country you are.
Definitely.
Depending on the part of the country you are, those things are still right ahead. And I even feel like I just don't want to delve into the whole Second Amendment argument, because look, the reason why they're shouting about this, about they want to have arms, is because a lot of our people don't have legal arms. They will shift their voice real quick about gun control if a lot of black people with guns.
That I agree
Will shift real fast.
That I agree with. Actually, a lot of people don't know this, but like gun control came into being. It dates back to like the 60s and 70s, where a lot of black militant groups were actually buying guns.
Yeah.
So it started off being a conservative idea, right? To like,
Then it flipped on them.
and we're like, oh yeah, we gotta, yeah.
They will shift real quick, and that's where I don't want everybody to have guns. If you're in law enforcement, have guns. But if you're not,
it's still solvable. It's still very solvable. It doesn't have to be this way.
that's like a relationship. We don't have to be like this.
It's true now.
It doesn't have to be like this.
It doesn't have to be. Go vote.
Well, thank you guys so much. I don't know, Justin, do you have anything else to add? I know you've been having a conversation. Something to add. My own is go vote, protect yourself. Kingsley said I should stop saying that word. I'll just say protect yourself. That's all I'll say. If whatever you can use to protect yourself, if it's to send you stuff from back home that you can use, protect yourself. I'm going to vote. That's all I'm going to say. But this has been a great show. I want to thank everyone that joined. Justin, you have anything to close us out with? And if not, we'll see you guys again. But Justin.
Oh, well, I'm just going to say thanks, guys. Did we lose one party to this? Neka's cut off. Okay. Thanks, Kingsley. Thanks, Abby, for coming in. Great conversation. I know that Bola has something on the calendar for post-elections. I hope we will.
Well, actually, election day is actually on a Tuesday. Kingsley have been fighting me. Kingsley just want. I've been around Kingsley on the election day. This man is one of the most miserable people on election day. I was hearing.
Well, hopefully this time around,
Let me add
we'll
him
all be
back.
popping bottles. We'll all be
So-
popping bottles on
so-
election night. So,
So
I'm just gonna say, Bola, Shibi, you asked me a question.
no,
I'm
go
just
ahead.
gonna say, all the best to everyone. Please, those of you
Make we
who,
win, Abby. More will go for. I'll stop this.
you people should please go and vote and win, because you're winning for all of us. You're literally winning for all of us. What happens over there affects the world in so many dimensions.
I think that same routine just became a problem. I was like, okay, which one is legal immigration problem? Or like, what is that?
Maybe that's what I was saying, and you were saying it's not Armageddon.
Armageddon is different from that one. Which are not the same, but I know Armageddon.
Sit down, Joe.
No, see, I'm the calm one. Election day now. We are going to do an election day show. You don't want to show up because you want to be in front of your TV counting results. The results will start coming to you later. And as Abby said, we're probably not going to know the winner for a few days.
It is well.
Hopefully it'll be a landslide. But I'm actually working the polls on election day and ahead of time to be a poll watcher. And so I encourage other people to do the same thing. Like, vote on day one, work the rest of it until 7 o'clock or whatever time the polls close in your locality. We should be working, because those people, it can come down to singular.
It almost feels like I don't want to watch the return. I'm not going to lie. I'll never forget 2016. It's one of those things where I just want to check every now and then, check my phone and see who won. Like, I'm not sure I really have the stomach to see the.
Let's hope we won't see people with MAGA hats running with ballot boxes, sir.
Justin, you people in Nigeria should send us election observers.
But you know what ACC said, right? That I joked about.
What?
If you were, how can you win with more votes, less votes than votes that were cancelled in Georgia? They canceled 200,000 votes, and the guy won by 30,000 vote margin.
Inconclusive. Rerun.
At least I know for Nigeria, that's a rerun. So whenever anybody was abused Nigeria,
jokes apart, right? Of course, in Nigeria, elections they're always rigged and all that. But on paper, in terms of what should decide elections, it actually makes a lot more sense than what we have here.
Uru to the answer.
That makes no sense for you to win.
Because they will always steal ballots and violence and all that shit, right? But on paper, in terms of how you determine who wins, on paper, it makes a lot more sense.
You can't win with cancelled votes.
You cannot.
200,000.
What I
like 30,000.
What I like on the presidential level is the 2/3 of 1/3 rule, right? It's popular vote, but it's set up in such a way that you can't just go and stay in one part of the country,
one corner of the country,
right, and win.
Isn't that what electoral college was trying to do?
No, well, it was, but it's not. Because the way we are right now, to be honest, a mixture of 6 to 16 states.
That's it.
Are really the ones, if all things are equal,
that determine the outcome.
Determine this thing, right?
Another show.
Sorry?
You people have started another show. You're talking about electoral college.
To be honest, that's a whole different thing.
Let me log off. Let's log on. If you guys want to continue, we can continue.
No, I'm good, man. I gotta go.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, guys.
Next week
on the other side.
Next week we'll be having a special guest to talk about his book launch. It's Kingsley's friend, so that should be fun.
Who's that?
Double F.
Ah, my guy.
I didn't confirm with him, sir, but it should be, that'll be a great show next week.
Correct guy.
But Abby, this was good. Abby, you're always free. Anytime you can boss and say, hey, boss, that's your show. I have another topic. I have the. I can bring you the mayor of Houston or some big person
Let's do it after this election.
after election. Okay, Abby, you
Yeah,
said it
let's
live.
get better, man.
Abby, you said live, so we've written it down. So I'll come back and collect. Come and cash your promise.
And
I think
Kotu always pays her debts. Don't worry.
yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people like Cotton. Abby, your name is very popular in Lagos. Just so in
Ah, they're
case you
my
don't know.
family.
Oh, Abby runs Houston.
Like your name is very popular in Lagos because the primary school I went to is K Cotton, and pretty much
Hey.
in true Larry, everybody like, oh, but you don't sound like them. You've been here too long. But thanks, guys. See you next week.
Bye.